against Southern, and off we go today over these 12.5 hours here on our ESPN family of networks. Elite scoring offense, 80-plus points per game as Raven Johnson moved it for Tanaya Latson. Good hands from Medina Okot at 6'6", couldn't score it. Edwards underneath on the second effort, cleans it up to start the scoring. Let's check out today's starting lineups brought to you by Capital One for Southern. It's a deep team, defensive-oriented. Maya Porter is their top scorer for a really well-balanced attack. Meantime, the starters for South Carolina, we talked about Joyce Edwards. We showed you Raven Johnson, the fifth-year senior with so much experience, as we get an illegal screen set by Okot.
Well, Dawn Staley talked to us in practice yesterday about she wants to get the ball down in transition and punch early to her post players. Take advantage of their size on the interior, recognizing those matchups early.
Our group with the layoff since playing in that SEC championship game 13 days ago. Southern, meantime, coming off a first 4 win here on Thursday against Sanford. Shot one go underneath for Demaya Porter, the sophomore who was second team all-SWAC. But the champions were a 4 seed there and now get a 1 seed in South Carolina. Edwards scores it again using that size underneath.
Well, and it's exactly what Dawn Staley talked about with her group. They want to punch it inside early. They want to take advantage on the interior. Again, this is a new core group for South Carolina, and where they have to continue to grow is half-court execution. They're going to have an opportunity to do that throughout the course of this tournament.
Raven Johnson with the pelfer, and then a push-off on Michaela Cunningham. Funches, 8th season as the head coach at Southern, and amazingly his 4th trip to the NCAA tournament as the head coach of the Jaguars, including 2 years in a row, 2 first 4 wins, 2 years running. Post entry and too strong on the block from Porter, and it does stay at this end of the floor.
Well, the size of South Carolina certainly was a concern for Coach Funches.
He'll go deep into his bench, and it is an elite defense. So much pressure. We saw that against Sanford.
Ball pressure, getting steals, turnovers, allow them to play in transition. You mentioned the depth that they have. They can continue to bring players in waves.
Working on the clock here to get it situated. They just had 20 on the shot clock. Now they've got it down to 11 as Dawn Staley pleads her case in discussion there with Tommy Paris. Off the baseline, out of bounds, drawn up to Zaria Hurston, who's had some big scoring games this year against elite competition. Like a lot of SWAC teams, it's a real battle-tested Southern squad. Shot clock winding down. Hurston didn't realize it, and a shot clock violation on Southern.
Battle-tested. Are you kidding me? Washington at Arizona. I mean, they went through the ringer.
It is incredible. This is a program that 2 years ago got a win at Oklahoma, an Oklahoma team that went on to win the Big 12 when they were still in that conference. Post-entry, Okot. The Kenyan underneath with a nice footwork on the reverse.
Yeah, good footwork. I think that's one of those plays that when you watch film, you talk to Medina Okot, you don't need to put the ball on the floor. You just need to turn around and score over that double.
The Mississippi State transfer has been great. Second team SEC, 13 points, 11 rebounds per game.
She's been great, and she's really just scratching the surface. I mean, so young when she was introduced to the game. Great skill set, size, strength.
She's got South Carolina out to a half-dozen-point lead. Tanaya Latson, the Florida State transfer, had it roll off, and Hurston clutches the rebound.
And I felt like missed an opportunity for one more pass. Okot open up top. And again, this is what Dawn Staley says. We have a team full of scorers. She's had a lot of different types of teams, right? A team full of scorers right now, and so helping them, there absolutely is. I mean, certainly she's an outstanding player and the best basketball ahead of her.
Both teams go to the bench, and Raven Johnson short on the jumper and pulled down by Destiny Dixon into the game off the bench for this deep Southern team as promised. A steal from Latson, who took it away from Cunningham and lays it in. 8-zip start for the Gamecocks. Dixon trying to get Southern settled. Underneath on the step through, Zylese Harrison had it roll off, and Dixon out of bounds trying to run it down.
And South Carolina just bringing the defensive pressure right here. Great hands by Tanai Latson, able to get out in transition. And that's one of the things that we have seen the evolution of the South Carolina program. They primarily, early in Dawn Staley's career, post-entry driven, playing in the paint, to now very guard-heavy, playing in transition. The fastest pace that this program and handling pressure, and Raven Johnson's experience in understanding time and school, understanding situational basketball. And I think for South Carolina to be able to play fast, Dawn Staley said, we've always wanted to play fast. We haven't always had the horses to do that. It gives you easier opportunities, and that's why you see the scoring numbers elevate.
Latson, too strong out of the corner. Alicia Tornaby's the offensive rebound. Latson missed it in close, but a foul against Southern underneath. Points per game, projected 13th overall in Michael Vopel's mock draft. 2,500 plus points in her career, but wanted to be a better pro, wanted to be a better defender in coming here.
Well, I think it says a lot about a player when she knows she's going to be challenged in a different way, specifically on the defensive end of the floor, learning how to play without the ball as Joyce Edwards active on the offensive glass. And you've seen the growth.
Well, how's this for coming out of the gates for South Carolina? Christine, Chene, and Andrea were talking about it in the studio. They wondered if South Carolina would just hit the ground running, and they sure have. Another steal, this time from Agat Makir. Got it back from Tessa Johnson and scores it. Timeout Southern.
Textbook fast break, South Carolina. Sense of urgency.
Only losses this year to Texas early on in Vegas by 2. Late January in overtime against Oklahoma, and then that conference title game. Olivia Delancey missed it from deep, and Southern still trying to find its first points. Tanai Latson got hogtied on the step through by Harrison with her first foul.
Ready to go.
Good work from the corner there.
Yes.
Tanai Latson. For South Carolina from the housekeeping department, no Maddie McDaniel today, backup point guard who's out due to illness. Averages 21 minutes per game, so a little bit of a shorter bench for Dawn Staley.
And when you lose another primary ball handler, true point guard on the floor with no Maddie McDaniel, you're going to have to put the ball in Tessa Johnson's hands. Tanai Latson going to have to play the point as well.
Good to see Latson all smiles as she goes off to the bench. All right, if you're Southern, how do you settle in offensively and just get a bucket, try to make some inroads?
Yeah, I think Southern's got to try to get some in transition. That means coming with a little bit more ball pressure, try to get some steals or some runouts. I like that execution out of the timeout. Get yourself downhill. Jocelyn Tate is explosive off the bounce and a good slasher.
She's fast. She was the SWAC tournament MVP and was their hero in the semifinals, a dramatic late win. Tessa Johnson makes a living on corner threes. Tipped out of bounds and stays at this end of the floor of the game. Whether she likes it or not, Tournament Tessa plays her best in the big moments. Agat Makir on the baseline out of bounds, drawn up by Dawn Staley. Here's Cunningham, the point guard who had a really nice game in the first quarter. Loose ball secured. She was at the controls of everything. Kept it away from Makir. Now Tate, the sophomore, really aggressive, attacking the basket over these last few weeks. She missed it, and the rebound down to Raven Johnson.
Well, you see opportunity for Southern on the interior. Each one is highly contested by the length and size of South Carolina. So trying to find ways to get some that are more uncontested. Great find on the backside.
It's a couple nice passes out of the post from Joyce Edwards. Makir couldn't pay it off. Pull up in transition, swirls down for Destiny Dixon, the junior from Foley, Alabama.
And I like that, trying to get a little bit more pace, find some open looks in transition. You don't want to get into a running game, so to speak, with South Carolina, because they can play with pace as well.
Post entry to Tornaby's. Around for Johnson. Too strong. And a battle on the boards, and it belongs to Southern.
You're playing a team like South Carolina that brings positional size all across the board, that can play equally as fast, bring as much pressure on the defensive end. You got to make sure your attention to detail is there. They like that play.
Delancey can step out as a stretch four. Took the contact from Edwards, but no foul called. And the Gamecocks run.
And I thought Delancey missed an opportunity to take the three.
That's what she does for Southern. Now a scramble situation, and it belongs to the Jaguars with a foul called against Isla McDowell.
Lineups, they can go really big, rest some of those guards. They can go small. They need to rest some of their bigs.
Hurston off the mark, but Dixon ripped down the offensive rebound. Hurston got bumped on the perimeter by Ocott and fouled. One at Ole Miss. That was the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah, she really is one of those streaky offensive players, and they're going to need her. I mean, she was over 4 in the first 4 matchup against Sanford as well. Somebody who can fill it up.
Another super athletic player, Devani Lagway, initiating for Southern. Tate off the bounce, dropped it off for Porter, and had it blocked by Tornabese, and then a foul goes against Porter.
That's the over-dribbling that we talked about earlier.
First of our 2 games here today in Columbia, South Carolina. McKeer tried to skip it. Tornabese got it instead, and a foul underneath comes on the floor. Hey, coverage of the end. Looking for our first upset. There were a couple of close bids yesterday, including Colorado State. Nearly pulled one off. Tornabese couldn't haul in the pass from McKeer at a South Carolina turnover. Hurston taking Dauda off the bounce.
Well, you called it. Zaria Hurston has the ability to fill it up. I like the way that Southern's getting some elbow isos. They're looking to attack downhill, using good angles, using that quickness, and the zone has been doing its job. 12 points in the paint early for South Carolina. Good job of execution, getting a touch there.
A miss bunny, but then a traveling call against Southern gives it right back to the Gamecocks.
Yeah, right here, just seeing the matchup, attacking the feet, going soft off the glass.
3 years ago for Doug Bruno. She was teammates there with Anissa Morrow. Baseline out of bounds, and Raven Johnson got it back from McDowell. Very nicely drawn up. Now a 9-second difference between game and shot clocks here at the end of the first quarter. Tipped away by the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and Raven Johnson just a hound. Our game trend so far, Southern started 0 of 7 from the floor, and since found 3 buckets. And South Carolina was blazing out of the gates. Hurston again yanked it back on Dauda too strong. And Tornabese down with a rebound. And the last shot of the quarter belongs to South Carolina. Out of the horns look, Johnson to the corner for McKeer. Off target. And McDowell can't get it off in time.
So off of each other incredibly well, and Raven Johnson, a vocal leader on this team. Tania Latson, the silent assassin, so to speak, and just seeing them on the floor together as seniors, and wanting to create some more special memories.
And there they are, forcing a turnover at midcourt with Latson scoring to start this second quarter, and then Johnson got a block out of Cunningham. Jalea Reed off the bounce. Really good cut from Edwards, who got it back and missed it in tight. Tania Latson was telling us earlier this year that Raven Johnson, to your point on vocal leadership, really challenges Tania Latson. Said we're a little bit more mature now, but they're still getting lunch every day together. And Raven Johnson has really welcomed Tania Latson to this group. Johnson too strong out of the quarter, and this one belongs to Southern. Molly.
Well, Mike, in that quarter break, South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley was coaching up her players hard, despite Carolina playing with an edge after that SEC tournament title game loss, and Staley keeping the heat on her players, guys.
That's kind of what you would expect from Dawn Staley.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's about playing to the standard. It's about continuing to grow and get better. And talking about that ball movement, when Southern went to the 2-3 zone, it stopped that ball movement. Just passing around the perimeter, settling for long threes.
Shot clock was winding down on Edwards, who had it blocked by Miriam Dauda. Well, Southern was shape-shifting a bit defensively, something that Carlos Funches has said against the best teams they got to do. Edwards forced the turnover. Cunningham in transition. Post entry batted away by Edwards. And then Latson the steal. Latson goes spinning and gets fouled, and will get 2 at the line.
Yesterday just about what Tanai Latson has brought, and she said she's just a gamer and she's super competitive. She's one who's not afraid and really wants the ball when you're down and when you need a bucket, and she allows them to continue to play quicker in transition, and you've seen that already early this afternoon.
Latson told us, I'm simply a better defender since coming here. She said a lot of it has to do with awareness and just head on a swivel, and she said if I'm not better defensively, Don Staley's going to get on me. Is the expectation in coming here to join South Carolina.
That's right, awareness and mentality, understanding that it's expected.
The lead at 16 for South Carolina. 2 minutes into the second. Off target from Jalea Reed, their best three-point shooter. And back to South Carolina. Raven Johnson, Tessa Johnson, Isla McDowell, Joyce Edwards, and Tanai Latson, the 5 on the floor in a small ball lineup for South Carolina. Edwards on the block, gets fouled, and we'll get 2 at the stripe with Porter committing the foul.
But this is an example of what she wants, and that's the growth of Raven Johnson in this program for 5 seasons, really being that point guard on the floor.
Edwards at the stripe, 70% there this season. And she splits. Harrison re-enters for Southern. Carlos Funches' team trying to get some offensive rhythm. Hard to do against South Carolina and one of the elite defenses in the country. Cunningham, shut off by McDowell. Still probing in the paint. Baseline floater wouldn't go. Tessa Johnson attacks. Kick out for Johnson. No dice, and the rebound down to Edwards. Cunningham and Edwards not on the same page, so Jalea Reed comes up to get it. The second leading scorer, 5th-year senior out of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Harrison lowering the shoulder, but walked with it on the step through, and already the 10th turnover for Southern.
Southern, a team that averages just under 17 a ball game. South Carolina's an elite defensive team. They're going to continue to put pressure, but when you add that length that they have at every position, it covers up passing lanes. They move their feet laterally, which covers up driving lanes. They're contesting every shot, every look.
Edwards came out and committed the foul. Tanai Latson.
You can't simulate that, and part of the reason they play such a tough non-conference schedule to get exposed. And this is a Southern program that is no stranger to the NCAA tournament. They understand what they have to do to position themselves to make a run and to win a couple of games in the tournament, but there's just no substitute. You cannot simulate, you're right, that length, that size, and that versatility.
Edwards with a chance at a 3. Edwards this year, she doesn't second guess anymore. She's super aggressive and just goes compared to her freshman year.
Well, she's so skilled, and she's such a matchup nightmare. She's got the handle of a guard, obviously the size of a forward, and the pace and poise of a veteran player.
Tate had it roll off. Shot was contested by Edwards, but the stick back goes for Zylise Harrison.
And yesterday in practice, Joyce Edwards was one of the most vocal players on the floor.
She's really come into her own in her second season here after a fabulous freshman year also. On the pocket pass from Raven Johnson. That's blocked from behind by Jocelyn Tate. Tate always attacking in transition. Taken away by Edwards. And Edwards will slow it down with Tessa Johnson. Right back to Edwards. Scores it and a foul. talk about Southern maybe getting chances to run. South Carolina gets back in transition. Edwards forcing turnovers, and she's having a huge second quarter. 17 points for South Carolina off the 11 Southern turnovers here in this first half. And Edwards gets a nice embrace from the
1-3-1. Dawn Staley is not going to be happy with that. A straight line drive to the rim. Good attack by Jocelyn Tate.
And then McKeer gets out in transition. She's got a chance at a three-point play.
Recognize the 1-3-1. Ocott back in the ball game with those 2 fouls. Jocelyn Tate gets to the rim, but then you can't sleep. You got to get back in transition off of a made bucket. Great pass ahead and attack.
For the long-limbed Agathe McKeer, freshman from Ontario, 6'1". She was the number 6 recruit in our ESPN 100. As Sylvia said, she might be the most talented, just naturally, of all the players on the roster. And a foul goes against Tessa Johnson on the rebounding action.
Yeah, I love talking to Dawn Staley about Agathe McKeer, and just talks about her talent. Her talent's enough to get her on the floor, and it's her practice habits that are going to keep her there, and really learning what it takes. I mean, certainly when you're an elite high school athlete, you have to adjust at the college level, and her length, her playmaking ability, her ability to stretch the floor. Again, another player that's just scratching the surface.
Latson got the block on Dixon out of that 1-3-1. That's a lot better that time for Dawn Staley. Latson Horse can't hit. Offensive rebound down to Tanaya Latson. Ocott finishes on the nice delivery from Latson. Second bucket for Medina Ocott here in a well-balanced first half for South Carolina. There's a three for Olivia Delancey, 29% from long range, but one of their best scorers. McKeer for Johnson, little touch pass, Ocott finishes. Nifty from Raven Johnson. Tate, no. And South Carolina allows to touch it. And Southern will have it when we come back.
Quickly on the rise with Sean Poppy.
He has done a great job in year 2, making a mark in the ACC, going up against Lindsay Gottlieb's team later on here at Colonial Arena. Stephanie White, Mike Monaco, Molly McGrath, our entire crew with you with 4 to go until halftime. Joyce Edwards moved it. Extra pass, Latson, and McKeer knocks down South Carolina's first three.
South Carolina have had many opportunities from the three-point line. Get the first one to go. But again, continuing to get good ball movement. Opportunity to work on that half-court execution. And Dawn Staley said, we're fine when we can get in transition, but we've really got to continue to get better in the half-court.
Fine like that as Johnson was attacking. But the offensive foul called as Delancey took the charge. Hard to decide. You're going to leave someone angry. Johnson to the bench. She's got 2 here late in the first half for Dawn Staley. Tate off the bounce, got the switch from Ocott. The lob underneath and a miss in tight. Wouldn't go down for Anaja Hall into the game at 6'5". Latson left alone. No dice from deep, but an offensive rebound down to Edwards. Got caught in the air, and it's a traveling violation on Joyce Edwards. Eight turnovers in this first.
They're a team that averages almost 12 steals a ball game. They really bring the pressure. They can turn a game so quickly.
Delancey with space. Too strong. Ocott soars with her soft hands at 6'6". Post entry, Edwards spinning through 2. Stripped. Tate the takeaway, and then McKeer commits the foul in transition.
This is the swarming defense.
I told you, they really turn you over. It's a top 15 turnover rate in the country for the Southern defense. Jeremy Bonin, one of their assistant coaches, he's the defensive coordinator, and he is always getting animated
yes.
on the Southern bench. Dixon couldn't bank it home, and Tornaby's down with a rebound.
Well, what Southern did in that first 4 matchup against Sanford, I mean, it was a tight ball game. Held Sanford to 2 points the last 6 minutes of the ball game. I mean, they can really lock it down.
Well, that's a game that was tied through 3 quarters. Latson, drop off, Edwards, lay in. 15 for Joyce Edwards on 6 of 7 shooting here in this first half. Delancey, always aggressive, missed it, but an offensive rebound for Jocelyn Tate. Foul off the bounce, kick out, and now Cunningham. Stripped by McKeer. Edwards running the floor, lays it in.
I feel like there was a missed opportunity for Cunningham to take that 3. She's a low volume but high percentage 3-point shooter, and you're not getting better looks than open looks if you're Southern.
Nice distribution there from Cunningham. Found the cutting Jessamy Dix. 8 assists, played 35 minutes. She only had 2 turnovers. Carlos Funches said afterward, did a great job, especially down the stretch, driving, drawing, and setting up her teammates. So just over a minute to go until halftime for South Carolina. Has looked every bit the part of the 1 seed they are for the 6th year in a row, chasing a 6th straight Final Four. Tornaby's back iron. Edwards kept it alive to McKeer. McDowell. Edwards, another offensive rebound, and follow. What a half for Joyce Edwards.
She makes it look easy, just elevates over everybody, keeps the play alive, has been so active on the offensive glass. 5 offensive rebounds for Joyce Edwards alone.
She's got 19 points, 13 of them here in this second quarter alone. Cunningham looking for somewhere to go. Reed drills the 3, and that was much needed for Southern. First points for Jalea Reed, and South Carolina can hold for the final shot in this first half. Against the zone, McDowell, corner, no dice. Tornaby's got to get it up. Got it off in time, but missed it. And we hit halftime.
Carolina, they don't have a lot of made 3s per game, but they do shoot it at a high clip, and that's something Dawn Staley wants them to continue to improve on.
No points from Tessa Johnson in the first half. Raven Johnson just with 2. Medina Okot says, how about I'll hit a 3? She's been doing that the last few weeks.
Well, she has it in her arsenal, and you can see she has a nice looking stroke. The form is good, the lift is good, and Dawn Staley said she prefers to play from the outside in. And she said, no longer are we missing open 3s.
Medina Okot at 6'6", who has now hit 11 threes this season. Zaria Hurston, no, and the rebound down to Tessa Johnson. Southern, the SWAC champs. 2nd year in a row in the NCAA tournament, led by Carlos Funches, if you're just joining us. Getting their hands full with South Carolina here today. Johnson skipped it. Okot left alone. Some of the fans wanted another. Oh, this is nice. Edwards, Okot.
Well, you can tell Dawn Staley talked to her team about being intentional, ball movement, getting the ball from one side of the floor to the other, and player movement as well, and that was terrific execution for the Gamecocks.
It was something you flagged early, their ball movement offensively, especially in the half court, and it looks really good here out of halftime.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you get an opportunity to work on it in a game situation, and it did. It was good from side to side, play around the perimeter a little bit, but right here, a drive, a kick, nice looking 3-point shot from Okot. And then the double team comes. Okot makes herself available on the cut.
Early 5 for Okot. Averages 13 and 11 per game and was the SEC's leading rebounder.
And I think you're going to see the discipline of South Carolina here. They're going to have some open looks that they probably could shoot those shots, but really going to work on this half-court execution.
Johnson gave it up. Okot again. Missed it. Johnson the offensive rebound and stick back for Tessa Johnson. First points for Tessa Johnson and a little 7-0 burst for the Gamecocks in the first 2 minutes out of halftime. And now a steal again for Tanaya Latson to lay it in. Timeout, Southern. Business-like from South Carolina.
Local products staying home, and Asia Wilson certainly continuing to elevate this program, and Joyce Edwards trying to take it to another level and build off of that legacy that was created. Different types of players in how they play the game, but certainly equal in terms of the impact that they're going to leave here with this program.
21-7 now for Edwards. How do you think Joyce's game, whenever that is in future years, translates to the next level?
I mean, I think that the growth of the game and the versatility of players are continue to be more skilled than ever, continue to be able to play multiple positions, and her size and ability to play at the forward position, but the skill set of guards, and as she continues to develop a more consistent three-point shot and more confidence around the perimeter, a lot of those inverted actions that we see at the next level, she's going to be a part of many of those.
Here's Okot, skips it for Johnson to knock it down.
That is a great find by Okot. South Carolina has had their way with that post dive on the backside of that double. Okot reads the second level and hits the three.
Latson out ahead of the pack, lays it in. A dozen for Tanaya Latson, and it is all South Carolina in the first 4 minutes since halftime, a 16-0 run.
And it's what you'd expect. Dawn Staley sounded like she wasn't too pleased with her team when she went into halftime. I mean, look, it's a fine line of being ahead, and you should in this moment, right? Certainly, and playing the way that she wants them to play.
Shot clock below 10. Hurston had it blocked by Joyce Edwards. Dawn Staley has talked to her about, over the course of this season, being more aggressive and putting her imprint on this team.
Two-way player already.
And yes, Jazzy, the camera is finding you, and always will. Former #1 recruit in the country. Okot the offensive rebound and putback for South Carolina. 18-0 is this quarter starting run for the Gamecocks. Southern looking for anything offensively here against South Carolina. Delancey short, and it belongs to South Carolina. So if you're Dawn Staley here, Steph, 5 minutes to go in the third, fourth quarter, what do you want to get out of this before the second round?
Well, you want high attention to detail. You don't want to play the score. You're playing the standards. So execution on the offensive end, continuing to get ball movement, player movement, locked in on the defensive end of the floor. I know she said something to Tessa Johnson as she was walking down. I don't think she wants to see this Southern team get wide open looks.
Edwards gets fouled on the block.
I think every opportunity you have.
In that regard as well, I showed you Mia Moore, part of the slam dunk matchup. She's an excellent point guard. And a couple teams that South Carolina has already seen this season. Early on this year, a couple of wins against the Tigers and Trojans.
And a Clemson team that's different and playing with much more confidence than the first time that they played one another. A team that really relies heavily on the three-point shot, so would give a different look. And a Southern Cal team who has played through a number of injuries throughout the course of the year. Of course, Juju Watkins has not played this entire season, and Jazzy Davidson has had in Juju Watkins, and everybody else learning to grow through that. And Lindsey Gottlieb, one of the best coaches to ever coach the sport, certainly has taken a team in Cal to the Final Four, has been a part of an NBA staff as well, and just really enjoying this team.
Agat McKeer scored it +1, and Agatmio was given good minutes throughout this first round game for South Carolina. Can't stamp the three-point play, but kept alive by Edwards down to Dowda. McKeer attacking on the baseline. Tipped out by McKeer. Dowda tried to save it. Still time to work with for the Gamecocks. Edwards kept it. Corner kick. Raven Johnson. Edwards. Batted around, and last touch by Demaya Porter, so it stays with
out on the offensive end of the floor. multiple players have opportunities to take shots, and tonight Latson gets a high percentage one there.
Really nice baseline out of bounds drawn up yet again by South Carolina, and 14 points for Tanaya Latson, right on her average. Delancey off the shot fake, created some space but missed it. McKeer down with a rebound. Tessa Johnson, the trailer, swirls it out. Edwards and Latson combine on the strip, over the shoulder. How do you do, Tanaya Latson? South Carolina having fun here at home. It's been about as dominant a third quarter as you could possibly have. Porter got to the loose ball. Shut off by Edwards, and a traveling violation. Yeah. It's been so businesslike from South Carolina, that a fan base that yet again leads the country in attendance for 12 years running is used to seeing this. So 2.5 to go in the third. And Southern has not made a field goal in this quarter. T gave it up. Dixon moved it. Delancey hoists it. Came up short. And it goes back to South Carolina. Isla McDowell returns, and Joyce Edwards departs to another nice ovation. 25 points, 7 rebounds, and very efficient. Tessa Johnson knocks it down. Second three for Tessa Johnson.
And this is where you're going to see, again, we mentioned no Maddie McDaniel on the floor for South Carolina. She's missing this game because of injury. But with no Raven Johnson, now you're throwing Tanaya Latson, maybe Tessa Johnson to be a primary ball handler for South Carolina.
Here's Jocelyn Tate. She gets fouled by Tessa Johnson, and we'll get 2. Meantime for Southern. Told you, battle-tested in the non-conference part of this win in the semis against Alabama A&M, who had won 18 games in a row.
And a game-winning shot and drive by Jocelyn Tate in that ball game. And again, this is a program that is no stranger to the NCAA tournament. They have been here. They've back-to-back years getting a win in the first 4. Not intimidated by environments, but again, you just cannot simulate the length, size, quickness of a South Carolina ball club.
No look pass, Latson. Shot clock below 10. Post feed, Gouda. Sailed it, sending it back out. Story in his playing days as well. Went to Northeast Louisiana, which is now known as Louisiana Monroe, as McKeer gets the block. He played in the NCAA tournament back in 1991. First round against Duke, eventual national champs. Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley, Christian Laettner on that team, part of the back-to-back titles for Duke. And so Funches knows a little bit about going up against elite programs early in a big dance.
And he's so even-keeled. I mean, you never hear him raise his voice. You never see different body language. He's very even-keeled, with his group, encouraging with them. And he said, we're going to come out and we're going to compete, and we're going to play hard. We're going to attempt to do what we do.
Foul on the perimeter here on Harrison, drawn by Agat McKeer. So 2 free throws coming for Agat McKeer. She's had herself a fine NCAA tournament debut with 12 points off the bench for the Gamecocks. A lot of the Stars getting breathers here for Don Staley with a huge lead. Final minute, third quarter. Deshante Edwards stepped into the mid-range. Latson clears it. First entry, Tornabese on the turnaround, no. And then a foul on Gouda on the rebound. We wondered if we might see an Alicia Tornabese dunk today. I believe that was your pregame prediction.
I'm crossing my fingers. Yes, I'm hoping so. She does it with ease.
Included yesterday at practice for the 6'7" freshman from France, joined the team mid-season for this second semester. Dixon on the drive, got tied up, held the ball. They stay at this end of the floor with Southern. And it wouldn't be foreign for a dunk from Tornabese. She's done it plenty.
Yes.
One hand, two. Tipped away by Gouda, nicely defended. McKeer gives it up for Latson to lay it in. Lagway, the lefty had it roll off. And the final few seconds ticked out here in the third. Latson did not get it up in time. And an absolutely dominant third.
Initially in practice, if his players saw that, he's like, no, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying. But I'm sure some of their friends and some of their families that have been watching these games are now sending it to him.
It's making the rounds again.
It's making the rounds.
This time of the year for Carlos. They actually had like a Steve Harvey moment. We mentioned his teammate was in it. Carlos won it. They initially gave the trophy to Greyhound Jones and then had to realize, no, Carlos got first. He needs his trophy. Well, the fourth quarter begins the way the third quarter was entirely for South Carolina. Raven Johnson from deep, and this has been a dynamite second half for South Carolina. Putback won't go for Deshante Edwards. Molly.
Well, Mike, South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley is now challenging her team to continue to search for more outside shots. She said, you guys got it done in the paint. Now work on the perimeter, and they've definitely been feeding it more outside in the second half. And remember, Staley, critical of their ability to get open shots to fall in that first half. So now she's just emphasizing a well-rounded performance. You can tell they're honing their strengths to improve for a championship run, guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. You could tell in that halftime interview that Dawn Staley wanted to challenge her team a little bit. They are knocking down open shots. Tessa Johnson, certainly one of them, getting opportunities from the perimeter. And now the fifth South Carolina Gamecock in double figures. And you can see they're also working on some zone defense. They know they're going to have to give different looks throughout the course of the tournament.
Yeah, they've been about 6% zone this year. So it's something Dawn Staley has gone to different times over the course of the year. Hurston knocks down the jumper at the SEC logo. And Southern gets its first bucket of the half. Edwards, nice cut. McKeer on the baseline.
Yeah, the movement without the ball, it's something that's not natural for a lot of players. And yesterday, again, in practice, Dawn Staley just working on her with her team. Player movement, ball movement, continuity, chemistry, finding open spots, finding open areas.
It's 20 assists on 35 made baskets for the Gamecocks. Hurston again, same spot, different result. Okot now with a rebound for the Gamecocks. And so they were 1 of 13 from 3 in the first half. They've hit 5 threes in the second half. And now Joyce Edwards gets fouled by Zylese Harrison. Raven Johnson to key it in. Medina Okot spinning on the baseline. And it belongs to Southern. For Sacramento, you see in the middle of your screen, the winner of this one will advance and face whoever wins the next game here, 3:30 Eastern time on ESPN2. The 8-9 game with Clemson and USC. South Carolina, the 4th 1 seed after the loss in the SEC championship game against Texas against Fort Worth, and that bumped South Carolina to Sacramento. Okot running the floor, got it from Edwards.
How about that? Joyce Edwards initiating the break. Medina Okot running the floor, the rim run, the post-to-post connection.
27 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists for Joyce Edwards. And you see Medina Okot up to 15 points. And I'll say this was deflected, so Edwards able to run it down, and now the shot clock drips below 10. to the wing and Reed. To Canada 3. Second triple for Jalea Reed, who's got a team-high 64 of them this year. Tessa Johnson with space. Can't do that.
No, got to find her in transition. She's so efficient. She makes it look so easy. I mean, 51% from the floor, 40% from the three-point line. Well, this is a player in Tessa Johnson who absolutely think that she needs to be looking a little bit more for that shot. It just adds a different dimension when you have the interior presence of Medina Okad and Joyce Edwards and the versatility that she has to know that you have somebody who can flat out knock down a shot. She creates space.
In transition, Maya Porter missed it in tight. And today, Tessa Johnson with 14 points. She's now hit 4 threes. All of her scoring in the second half, and a great find to McKeer. Carlos Funches takes a timeout with 5.5 to go in the fourth. He won. And a reminder, don't go anywhere here. We still have unbeaten UConn still to come here on ABC, starting a title defense. Tornabese and Tessa Johnson down with a loose ball. Stephanie White, Molly McGrath, Mike Monaco, and our entire crew with you in the first of 2 games here from Colonial Life Arena. 3:30 Eastern Time, ESPN2, Clemson and USC, part of our 16 games today, over 12.5 hours. Hey, for the 6th straight year, every NCAA.
I mean, women's basketball has traditionally been pretty close to chalk, and you know, I think you look at the 1 seeds, you look at the Final Four a year ago, and the familiarity with all of that, no doubt about it. But you never know what can happen in the tournament. You've got to play great basketball, and you know, I know that lots of fans think that winning should be easy, but oftentimes there's a little bit of luck involved, right? Hitting your stride at the right time, making sure everybody stays healthy, all of the things, and dialed in.
No matter what the projection looks like.
And that's why coaches and the great ones and the championship winning ones will hold the team straight. Take by Tornabese are holding their team accountable no matter the day, no matter the score, no matter the circumstance.
Yeah, first points for Alicia Tornabese. 95-26 is the lead for South Carolina, who has held Southern to just 7 points since halftime. Delancey around and out, and Tessa Johnson down with her 9th rebound. Career high in rebounds for Tessa Johnson. Latson skipped it. Johnson moves it. Dowda hoists it. Crowd would have loved that for one of the beloved teammates on this South Carolina team. Tate lost it, and it's back to South Carolina. Well, speaking of UConn, coming up next, what do you got on Sarah Strong?
Look, this is one of the all-time great memories in the history of the NCAA tournament. Her mother, Allison Feaster, a part of a 16-seed Harvard team that defeated #1 seed Stanford on their home floor. The first time that happened in women's basketball. And Sarah Strong, who quite possibly could be the most dominant player in women's basketball right now.
Part of just a powerhouse UConn team.
Yes.
50-game winning streak, of course, going back to last year. And chasing what would be title number 13. Tornabese had the putback and a chance at a 3-point play. Tessa Johnson departs to a nice hand from the crowd. Really good all-around game, especially in the second half for Tessa Johnson. Tornabese stamps it with 3.5 to go. 14 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists for Tessa Johnson. Delancey still shooting. Destiny Dixon down with the offensive rebound. Tate flashed and draws a foul. Good all-around effort from South Carolina, really start to finish. Only gave up 6 points in the first quarter. Poured it on in a dominant second half.
That's right. And You see Chloe Kitts sitting by Tessa Johnson. Chloe Kitts was lost to injury in October. I've played this season without her, and Dawn Staley talked about how, this team without Chloe Kitts, who was really a true high-low player and could play in the high-low system, has had those young post players have had to learn how to do that. And Joyce Edwards has probably benefited the most from more minutes. She was going to get a lot of minutes anyway, but more minutes and more opportunity to play through some of that growth.
And we've seen the playmaking portion of it for Joyce Edwards today. McDowell missed it, and the loose ball down to Jocelyn Tate. Kit's been out all year, like you said, with a torn ACL after last year an honorable mention All-American. Extra pass to the corner, and Dixon will back it out. A great ride this season for Southern. Winding down. Lagway, no. Latson, the loose ball. Latson to the corner, McDowell. Hits. Century mark for South Carolina. Their third 100-plus point game in the NCAA tournament. All of them under Dawn Staley at 108 last year in an opening round game against Tennessee Tech. Tornabese couldn't connect. And the loose ball scramble on the baseline is a held ball that gives it to Southern. Her own perfume to the players after their game on Thursday. Some of the players have talked about how special it is for them to go up against Dawn Staley. Just to even have them watching their game on Thursday and then today to face a Dawn Staley-led program for what she means to the sport. And some of the players have said specifically what she means for black women in basketball.
That's right.
McDowell swirled it out. Tornabese goes soaring. Couldn't hit the putback.
And certainly this Southern team, again, no stranger to the NCAA tournament. A year ago, winning a first four matchup. This year, winning a first four matchup. Every year, getting more experience and taste of what it means to win in an NCAA tournament. Running into a buzzsaw like South Carolina and Charlotte Sting, and she just continues to, and as a teammate, impart her wisdom.
Lying around, so some of the Southern players had said, wow, Coach, you smell really good. When they met her, that picture we just showed you. So Dawn Staley said, well, I got these samples. Why don't I drop them off for you guys after your win on Thursday night?
She get an NIL deal for that imagination?
I guess so. So the run coming to a close for Southern, but hats off to them on another fabulous ride. And the tough reality of this time of the year for so many playing the sport. Not everyone's going on to the WNBA or professional basketball. So for some, this is the end of the road for a sport they have poured their life into.
Well, and what a legacy these players continue to leave for this program and the next generation of players who have opportunity to play and to compete.
It made everyone proud back in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's great HBCU. Another run to the biggest stage here in this sport. Final minute here in the fourth for South Carolina. Offensive rebound, Tornabese, and she will back it out. 5 in double figures for South Carolina, led by 27 from Edwards. Dowda got tied up underneath by Delancey. (27, 8, and 3 for Joyce Edwards, powering this South Carolina group. They got 15 from Medina Okot, career high 15 from the freshman Agat McKeer, Latson, and Tessa Johnson, the others in double figures. So the Gamecocks will be moving on to round 2 on Monday. And we'll await the winner of Clemson and USC. Final half minute here for Southern. Kiana Wilson getting some run, moved it to the corner, and the triple not there from Tate. And that will do it here in Columbia. A title pursuit began today for 1 seed South Carolina, and the Gamecocks looked the part. Just dominant to advance to the second round.